platform as workers struggling for our rights, for safety, against the criminalisation that we face. I know that I want to plunge right in really with the PCS policy. I know that you looked at this issue and that fundamentally didn't come to a conclusion, which meant that one of the things that you said, as far as I know, is that you recognise the need for sex workers to organise for our rights, but you didn't think it was a priority for your union. And I would like to try to convince you that that's not the case, that it is a priority, that we do come together in this particular struggle. I was at the TUC Women's Conference, and women from ASLEF put forward a motion for decriminalisation, very bravely actually, considering the kind of opposition that we had. We had a really good fringe meeting beforehand, very good, thorough question and answer session. People were very respectful and serious about the issue, trying to understand what the implications were. We then went into the main conference and the motion was defeated, and the TUC Women's Committee converted a panel that was supposed to be on violence against women into a panel bringing in academics at the last minute and other people to speak against the motion. And that was really a bad moment for us, and PCS abstained. I wanted to let you know that because you need to know where your union stood on this issue. And it was very disappointing to us that that happened. What it meant, fundamentally, is that the TUC women's policy, which is one of promoting the criminalisation of clients, which is fundamentally increased criminalisation of prostitution, and which is going to impact on sex workers first and most, that policy now stands. And the impact of that is that thousands of women a year will continue to face raids, arrests, prosecutions and even imprisonment. And that is the situation that we're interested in changing. Thank you. I think one of the things that's striking to me is that in putting forward a policy of increased criminalisation, few women who call themselves feminists, many of them, have been interested to know what is actually the impact of those laws on sex workers as a set of illegal workers. And it means that raids, arrests and prosecutions have gone up, that migrant women in particular are being targeted for arrest, using often anti-trafficking as an excuse, so that the police will come into premises saying that they're going in to save victims, but what actually happens in practice is that sex workers get arrested and even deported. That women are losing not only their livelihood, but also their savings, their home under proceeds of crime legislation, that women are facing prison through breaching antisocial behaviour orders, which have, the police have been giving out in, thousands of them over the last nearly 10 years now, or for brothel keeping, which is the charge that's used against women working together from premises. And that charge carries a maximum sentence of 7 years in prison. And it is used, there's no force or coercion that needs to be proved. It's just two women working from premises that can be convicted for that offence. And so we are also facing saturation policing, no protection, racist, bullying, threats from the police, particularly against those of us that work on the street. That's the day-to-day reality that sex workers are facing. And this is at a time when prostitution is increasing because of austerity. I don't need to tell you anything about that, really. I'm sure you know that 86% of the cuts, the austerity cuts, have fallen on women. That now 3.9 million children are living in poverty. If 70% of sex workers are mothers, that means that the mothers of those children are devastated and desperate and not knowing where the next meal is going to come to. We had to listen at the TUC conference to the objections to decriminalisation that were focused on claims like prostitution is uniquely degrading, with no reference to the degradation that any of us face when we are forced to beg or skip meals in order to feed our children. We had to listen to them say that prostitution was inherently violent. Well, that is just insulting, because it says that sex workers don't know the difference between rape and consenting sex. And we, like other workers, do know the difference, like other people, do know the difference. It said that prostitution was corrupting of society by undermining any possibility of gender equality. Well, I don't know if they've not noticed that the sex industry is not the only industry that is male-dominated and exploitative, and they need a target. There's plenty of those corporations like Sports Direct and the rest of them that they could focus on to deal with that kind of... They used a lot of fake statistics. I don't know if you need to know the truth, but you can always ask me afterwards if you want the details. But they use things like the entry age of people going into prostitution is 13 years old. It's a complete lie. It's a complete lie that has taken hold in many different areas, and you hear it repeated by politicians even. The other one was that 80% of sex workers are trafficked. Another lie. Again, repeated by many. Harriet Harman, Vera Baird, Fiona McTaggart, many of those Labour women politicians spent years promoting those kinds of lies. And, you know, part of our job is to dismantle that misinformation. Criminalisation, first of all, really the crime of criminalisation is that it separates us from other workers and from other women. And we organise, we're based at a women's centre in London alongside a whole set of other women's organisations, and we have been able to be focused and more effective because of working so closely together with other people to really overcome the barrier that being illegal workers imposes on us. So we work with anti-rape groups against violence, we work with Invisible against benefit sanctions and disability cuts. You know, many of us have gone into sex work having tried caring and cleaning jobs because in order to support children with disabilities or partners with disabilities, which you cannot do, you cannot make ends meet on many of the other jobs that women, you know, women's jobs is just not possible to survive in that way. We work with the All Africa Women's Group against the deliberate policy of destitution, which means that women asylum seekers are living on £36 a week, half of the benefits that other people get in society, which already are pitched at a poverty line benefit. So that has been a big strength for us and a big protection. I have to say that despite the TUC, Women's Committee and Women's Conference, and despite some moves in other areas to really push this policy of criminalising clients, we feel the tide is really in our direction. The public is certainly for decriminalisation. It recognises the harm of criminalisation, and we have also gathered support even recently from Amnesty International. The junior doctors just came out for decriminalisation of sex work. In this country also the Royal College of Nursing, Women Against Rape, a whole set of people do understand that criminalisation forces sex workers to work in isolation and causes harm in that way. And I think also one other encouraging move is that you heard about the International Women's March and the International Women's Strike, and the talk of the feminism of the 99%, and we really felt like that opened up the possibility of forging a different kind of feminism, a different kind of solidarity really, where people take a stand against the violence and immorality of poverty and not against what people who are living in poverty are having to do to refuse it, that they take a stand with sex workers against the police, and that they take a stand really with, we've always called bad women, you know, but so to really take a stand with bad women against bad laws. And that's what really we're asking of you today. I'd really like to know what you feel is in the way of the PCS taking a policy on decriminalisation, and we would really welcome your support. We always come out for you, and so we would like you to be able to come out for us. Thank you.